Hello, welcome to our series on recalls. I'm Dr. Darin Detwiler, and in this series, we're going to be joined by Dr. Morrine Omolo, a good friend of mine who I've recently had the opportunity to attend a ball game in Chicago with.
Ah,
Welcome, Morrine. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, I so greatly appreciate you spending some time with us talking. And yet we were not talking about recalls at the ball game. It was a great
No.
opportunity to connect in person and to, kind of support what goes on behind the scenes when it comes to food safety. Now, you work as a quality engineer for a food manufacturing company. And I'd like to talk about recall foundations. What are some things that you think about in terms of if you know anything about recalls? You got to know this. What are some thoughts that come to mind?
I think the most basic thing is to think of recalls in its entirety as damage control. And it's damage control that has its own roots, and the roots just keep growing. And depending on how you navigate that process, you can either survive and thrive and learn from those lessons. You can survive and basically live to make the mistake again if you don't learn anything, or you can basically cease to be a business that anybody wants to engage with. And all of that is not just about thinking about your business surviving, it's thinking about the impact of the customers. To me, that's the most critical part. A lot of companies run right off the bat trying to save the business. I always say, think about the customers first. If you think about them and handle them well, chances are you'll come out the other end having learned a lot more about what it means to be a business and to sell what it is you're trying to sell.
And when we were together at that ball game, uh, it was a bit of a learning curve. This idea of the players have to deal with the foul balls, the ones that don't get to where they're supposed to go, and
Right.
with the strikes. When they swing and they don't miss. And either way, you've got to kind of deal with those pitches. And one of two things happen. You either put some points on the board and win, or you don't. And we got to see the hometown team win, and the hometown crowd went crazy with that win. I would imagine that most people in the food industry think that it's kind of like that. The idea of you make a product and it becomes a hit. You score a
Right.
home run with your consumers, and your
Mm-hmm.
consumers at the end of the day are cheering for you. But when things go wrong and you have a recall, you have an outbreak, you have a scenario where it's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
like that. You have to deal with those consequences.
Very much so. And again, to reiterate my previous point, is you cannot wait until you're in that situation to be thinking about should I be doing now, right? Oftentimes, when you see massive recalls from large companies and they extend for months and months on end, it's this cascading wave that just keeps coming until you reach the peak. And then we plateau and say, okay, I think we got a handle on the scope of this thing. But in that moment where decisions are being made and the wave just keeps coming, the reality is there is a customer on the other end of that conversation who might not be aware that this is happening. And how a company navigates that space, how quickly they communicate, how authentically they're willing to be vulnerable matters, because the ability to get in front of it and help customers make decisions saves lives. The longer you take dancing around and tiptoeing around the story and making those critical decisions, the more likely that a person on the other end is making decisions about what to buy and they pick your product, and that could cost them their life.
Great points. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this section where we're talking about foundational elements of recalls. And be sure to join us for our next installment where we're going to talk about preparing for recalls. So, will you come back, Maureen?
Of course I will. This is fun. So far so good.
Excellent. All right, we'll see you in the next episode.